just wanted to welcome everyone here today to our panel presentation, our roundtable that we're going to be doing this morning. This is hosted by Family Enterprise USA, as well as in conjunction with the bipartisan Congressional Family Business Caucus. So thank you all so much for being here. Even though this room is a little bit tight, it's certainly nicer than I think some of the rooms we've been in the past.
Good morning. Thank you very much for having me. I'm Barbara Roberts. I'm a managing director and financial advisor for 45 years at Merrill Lynch. I'm based in New York City, leading a multi-generational practice alongside my son, Ben Roberts. I'm deeply committed to helping families, entrepreneurs, business owners, plan for wealth, succession planning, and navigate the complexities that we're all facing with long-term planning for the next generation. So Ben, I'm going to pass it on to you. There you go.
Benjamin Roberts, second generation financial advisor, third generation fiduciary, actually, thinking about my grandparents as well. Also deeply committed to and very fascinated by family enterprise, the transition of wealth, and I think especially in this moment, thinking about my impact in coming into the business, especially the shifting nature of wealth management today. It's critical that the 80% of equity that's in these later generations, in these businesses who've living longer, we're supporting businesses longer, we're staying leaders in businesses longer, that eventually needs to shift. And I think we as financial advisors specifically are uniquely suited to help with those types of transitions. We also are the co-authors of the Next Gen survey in understanding the attitudes of understanding why children do move into the business and the best ways in which to introduce both wealth as well as the responsibilities and the stewardship of these businesses. Thank you.
Hydroflow, we're in Fullerton, California. My father started our company in 1961. We've been in business 64 years now, and he was the first generation, I'm the second, and my daughter is the third. So we're here today because the estate taxes are a killer for us. The first generation was pretty easy to pass to the second. My parents were wise enough to get a second to die policy, and they just guessed at the amount, and they came up with 20 million, which for us sounded like an enormous amount of money because we were so small. But when they did pass away, my brother and I owed 22 million. So we were very fortunate that they had that policy. But unfortunately, my brother died 9 years ago. And when he died, his children owed 60 million in estate taxes. Well, not one of them had any money in the bank, and my brother was a spender, and he didn't save anything, nor did he do any planning. So in order for them to pay the estate taxes, they had to sell back a lot of their shares to Hydroflow to pay the estate taxes. Now, I'm in the third generation. Our state tax attorney informed me that if I passed away today, my kids would owe 96 million in estate taxes. Nobody in the family has $96 million. So this is the dilemma and how punitive it is for family businesses, and it almost makes it impossible to carry on. Why don't you tell them?
We are a small business in California. We manufacture aircraft components, and we support both the defense and commercial, everything that's flying in the air today. So we have a very huge ecology in our area as well because we use local suppliers. So 70% of our suppliers are in Southern California, and that's very important to us as well. With all the estate planning, the other kind of challenge is dealing with the estate taxes, but the complexity of everything. You get advised by these team of attorneys and a team of financial advisors to set up these massive trust systems that everybody needs doctorates to understand, and so, part of reducing taxes, it's also coming up.
To address you today. because we feel so passionately about the work that we're doing here. So my name is Sherry Bovino, and the company that we own is Global, a first flagship company. Now, we are a defense contractor for the Navy. We manage the Navy's inactive fleet at 3 sites across the country, and we have an emergency environmental cleanup contract with the Navy, underwater ship repair, salvage, and we service all the Navy's diving equipment. Paige is my second generation. I'm first. I bought my company. It was a long-term, another family-owned long-term defense contracting company that had its ups and downs. It was started in 1988.
One of the things that keeps us interested and keeps me really interested in the legacy and longevity of our company, and why I want to continue the great legacy that my mom has built, is our commitment to the mission. What we're doing is really important to serve the nation and protect our freedoms. In addition to that, we have our strong commitment to our workforce. Our values and our culture are our roots that keep us going, and what's allowed us to stay in this industry for 20 years so far. So our commitment to our people, our communities, and the nation is what really keeps me connected to the longevity.
Yeah, some of the issues that we're really passionate about here is, as everybody heard, is the death tax. Clearly, you know, I think there's a misunderstanding a lot of times by our representatives that the value of our businesses is like cash in the bank somewhere. It is not cash in the bank. It is working capital in our business. It takes that money to run the business. So if I pass away and Paige has to pay that estate tax without the complex planning that Sasha talked about, there's no way that she could continue that business. She would have to sell it, pay the taxes, terminate all the employees, they would lose their jobs. Our commitments and contributions to the communities, as we've talked about, that Alysha talked about, because we do have strong commitments, all those things end.
The R&D tax credit has been really beneficial for our company. We're doing a lot of exciting work when it comes to pollution response, when it comes to taking parts off and returning them to the active Navy, keeping our Navy mission ready. And being able to reinvest that tax credit back into our business has been very substantial and really beneficial to us. So we would like to keep that going.
Would like to talk with our members of Congress today is also about, you know, kind of getting our private business taxes similar to the C Corps. I mean, for most of us, we're subchapter S's. And so, but we compete, Paige and I compete with the very large C Corps out there, and we need to be able to get the 199A provision helps us, but we need to get closer to that, so to create more equality between us and our competition.
My name is Matt Nielsen. I'm a third generation owner, steward, and director for Nielsen Massey Vanillas. We are the world's premier producer of all natural pure vanillas and flavors based in Waukegan, Illinois. We currently employ about 100 employees worldwide, over 2 facilities. Our family business was founded in 1907 as an aroma manufacturer, but evolved early on into a food flavoring producer, now serving the industrial, food service, and retail markets. We now have 2 third-generation and 2 fourth-generation shareholders, with an additional 3 underaged fourth-generation family members and 2 underaged fifth-generation family members, with another one on the way as well.
But I will add, at least for our business, we're in high growth mode right now and trying to make a lot of investments. And what I think, someone said something about past, you know, I think 80% of family businesses pass through business. One of the things I think people don't realize is that income, a lot of the majority or lion's share of that income that's made on paper doesn't actually end up in the ownership's bank accounts. A lot of it is actually reinvested in the company. That's my remit of leading this organization, is where do we make those investments, but yet it's all taxed. So if we can get some of that tax reduced, it's going to end up naturally falling through in more investments in people, tools, expansion, and growth.
For Intellex, headquartered in Philadelphia, we'll have been in business 150 years next year, and we will have been owned by our family for 45 years next year. Family businesses crave, and in fact deserve, consistency and permanency in tax legislation and in the tax code. And that's necessary so that we can plan and plan and prepare for an inevitable event called death, which timing is, of course, oftentimes arbitrary.
Typically, Intellects hires people when everybody else is firing people. We get some great people in those types of situations. And I think the Plimpton family has always looked at it as a family investment, not a family business. So they've gone out and built relationships throughout the industry with different leaders in the industry, and that's how I came to know David and his family. And I do know, I think pretty much all 26 family members. I think that's important too, because I feel like for me, my mission is to, make sure the family is going to be able to pass this along to future generations. And also the Plimpton family, their mission is about taking care of the families in the business.
In my home state of West Virginia, 98% of the businesses are small business. And you all are the heart and soul of the communities. You're the one putting up the panels for the Little League games and supporting the hospital, doing all the things you do philanthropically. And people depend upon you for their living, as well as their health care, all of these things that you have to think about, that you are responsible for. The 199A small business tax deduction allows our small businesses to thrive, and our reconciliation bill made the deduction permanent and gives you certainty, and certainty is the most important word in business.
The next question, though, is what's your problem? And that's important. You got to be able to put it on a bumper sticker. Think about the proverbial elevator speech. You have the elected officials' attention really for about 5 minutes. You got to turn it into a dialogue. So you've told me who you are, what your problem is. And the third question is the real important. Why should I care? What's your solution? Put it to me on, again, a bumper sticker. Here's the paragraph we want you to insert in the bill, because the easier you make it on me and my staff to take care of your problem, the better your likelihood, because I don't really want to write your book for you.
Communication is the biggest issue with the students. And then he brought up something that I thought was quite interesting. He said that loyalty, legacy, longevity, and you'll get this is a great one, complicated were the words used when he started talking about family business and succession. This starts to get into, I think, a good trend, which is if you add up the folks that were either going to come back into business or are in the business or plan to come back at some point, it's over 60%. So this is great because this basically tells you about communication. Do you have an ownership stake in a family business? Don't know. I mean, so much for getting started when you're young.
Thank you for being here. I come to you from Waycross, headquartered in the Twin Cities in Minnesota. We are a large, multi-generational single-family office. Our family business is 7th gen. It was founded in the upper Midwest in the 1880s. Really pleased to introduce our panelists here this morning. The great work that we do through FEUSA and PATG could not be done without the assistance of these folks. Obviously navigating the labyrinth, literally and figuratively, of Congress.
We're going to do a little celebration of what's already happened in the Congress. Carol Miller highlighted a little bit of that to you. We're going to explain a little bit about that, and then we're going to talk about what else will happen. And so here we go. We've been telling you for years that 2025 there was going to be a tax bill that passed, and we told you that because every president has to get their economic agenda into law.
That are the reason, the driving force behind why President Trump had a tax bill in his second term. These are expiring TCJA provisions that have now been made permanent in the One Big Beautiful Bill. A mix of individual and business provisions. Most of you will be familiar with all of them up on the screen.
Clearly one of the key driving force was $3.8 trillion worth of tax increases that would have kicked in January 1. And that was the driver for Congress. That was certainly a key driver for the president. But I think picking up on a number of the proposals that the president made during the campaign, we saw some new provisions come into this that put his fingerprints on it, and also were key in terms of trying to drive a lot of the benefit.
I think an important reason that some of those provisions, particularly targeting middle-class individuals, lower-income individuals, that was political and strategic from a messaging standpoint. In 2017, Democrats hit back hard on President Trump with the passage of TCJA, claiming that a large percentage of the tax benefit went to the top 1%. President Trump and Republicans wanted to make sure that they had a much more broader bill that they could make the argument reached a wider swath of the population.
First, if you separate Donald Trump from expectations about what's happening, people are actually more negative about conditions in the country, which is amazing to me. Ask people, inflation, the cost of goods, is it getting worse for people like me, which is how you are supposed to ask the question. How does it affect people like you? Because that's how you're responding to yourself. This is legislation to make it easier for hardworking taxpayers. This is legislation to hold Washington accountable. This is legislation to bring about the changes that the American people demanded on Election Day. This is the ultimate in accountability, responsibility, efficiency, and effectiveness. These are all attributes that people want